right, let's bring in David Strom. He's the associate editor at Hot Air, and he joins us on the phone. Hello, David.
I am having so much fun with this news cycle. If Joe Biden did not have his finger on the nuclear button, I would be, just in seventh heaven.
Yes, this would be so much better if it was a cost-free scenario. If this was just like some couple on The Bachelor that everybody was discussing. But that's not what's happening here. Obviously, you're very right. There's a lot on the line when it comes to who's in the Oval Office. But boy, in terms of political parties this could happen to, I feel like it couldn't happen to a better group.
Oh, my gosh. The war that is going on right now is just hilarious. I don't know whether you've seen it or gotten the audio, but I just saw that Chuck Todd is now taking personal shots at the president. And so, everybody is pirouetting. They're going in between, he's sharp and he's in it to win it, to the guy is senile, he's got Parkinson's, he's actually a very bad man, and it's just going to go on and on.
This audio that David's referring to, I do feel like it bears repeating. Chuck Todd has a podcast. He calls it the Toddcast, right? That's the clever name they came up with for it. And on the Toddcast today, he says two things that are of note. One is that a cabinet secretary told him 2 years ago that Joe Biden is too cognitively impaired to run for president again.
Jonathan, I'm not going to out the cabinet secretary.
Right.
But I had a cabinet secretary 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay. 2 years ago. All out of the blue asked me, do you really think he can't run again like this? And I said, well, you have more interaction with him than I do. And they said, I don't have a lot of interaction with him.
Chuck Todd. So that's 2 years ago. He said he was warned by this cabinet secretary that Biden is not with it enough to run. And then Chuck Todd says, all of this is making me rethink Biden's biography. I actually think he may be a bad person now.
It has made me want to rethink a lot of the Biden biography. I still can't believe he ran for president in the first place, given that his family was in crisis in 2018. You look at what has happened. I can't believe he put his family through this. And now looking at his behavior now in clinging to this, I think the entire narrative on Joe Biden is going to change, in that he's always been, everything has been about his ambition, and his ambition comes first.
He's just so selfish. I can't believe I didn't see it before, says Chuck Todd.
Let's see. Chuck Todd, a cabinet member, tells him 2 years ago that the guy has got pudding for brains, and Chuck Todd is sitting there with his MSNBC colleagues talking about how sharp as a tack the guy is. And now they want to get rid of him, and we're about to get this, data dump of stuff that they've known all along. Joe Biden has never been a good person. Everyone knew that. They've just been feeding us a line of BS. It's all their narrative. And, what's going to come out in this civil war among the Democrats is just everybody dumping their Oppo research. Yes. And it's going to be glorious.
How much Oppo do you think Kamala Harris is dumping behind the scenes right now? Because we're getting a lot of headlines, aren't we? And from people who are on the inside, they worked in the White House. They're leaking things like the over-the-top preparation they have to do just to get Joe Biden to walk across the stage. Do you think that's all coming from Kamala's people, to the extent she has any?
Oh, I think some of it certainly is, although she's not a well-loved person in the White House either. I mean, everyone who works for her winds up leaving pretty quickly. But, yeah, she definitely wants the job. And I think she doesn't want to just be the candidate. She wants to be the president of the United States, because she's just the candidate. She's going to lose. She needs to be the incumbent. That way she'll be the first black woman president, and with a better chance of winning than is just the second-tier vice president on the ticket there as a cheap substitute. for the failing old man. So she's definitely in on it.
Yeah.
I think some of the Obama people are in on it. Obama has never liked this guy. And if you look at the people who started sounding the alarm months ago, they're Obama people.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Obama people. So in the wake of the debate, David Plouffe, Obama's original campaign manager, was on TV with Rachel Maddow, and he said this is a DEFCON 1 moment. Former Obama staffer Tommy Vietor has been out saying that Joe Biden needs to get out of this race. He respects people who think differently, but he thinks Biden needs to get out. Additionally, Obama speechwriter Jon Favreau was on TV again today saying that Biden needs to get out. David Axelrod has now said multiple times, both in rich media as well as in print media, that Biden needs to get out of this race for the good of the country. And then we get George Clooney today, David Strom, who is Barack Obama's favorite Hollywood friend. They spend a lot of time together in Italy doing all these boat trips together. And George Clooney comes out today and writes a New York Times op-ed saying Biden has to go. He saw him up close and personal at that fundraiser just a few weeks ago in L.A., and he said Biden was a disaster there. What do you make of all of that?
Oh, well, they are engaged in what my colleague Ed Morrissey called mutual assured destruction. And we're seeing the levels of escalation, and everybody's escalating closer to dropping the nuke. It's clear that Obama wants him out, and Biden is basically saying, well, I've got Oppo research on you, and I'm sitting here on top of $250 million and all the rules in my favor, and they're playing a game of chicken. I just think it's just bizarre. I mean, the big problem is that Joe Biden is a bad man.
Yeah.
He is not going, he's not thinking about the good of the country or his party or anything else. So it's going to be a big food fight.
A lot of this has been lefties coming to the realization, or at least being willing to admit the things the right has been saying out loud for years about Biden. Certainly about the state of his cognition, for sure. Now you have Chuck Todd saying, Biden is a selfish person. It turns out if I look backwards and say he's always been in it for himself, he's not really doing this for the country. How far are we from Obama people leaking the true nature of the Biden business arrangements overseas, and then the media sharing it with the rest of us as a means of getting him out of office?
Well, in fact, I just predicted that was the next step in an article that's coming up. And I don't think we can ignore the fact that the mainstream media has a huge problem on their hands because of what Chuck Todd just said. He knew. He had been told, and he hadn't said anything. Let me relate something that happened with a family member. Big Dem, big lib. He and I argue politics a lot because we both enjoy it. And he sent me an email 2 days ago saying, you have been bugging me about the lies of the mainstream media and that I shouldn't trust them. And I thought you were wrong. And now I know you were right. So, I mean, they've got a huge credibility problem, which is also why they're trying to take Joe Biden out, because, they're going to throw him under the bus to try to save themselves.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's like this three-way war that's going on. And I think the press is trying to align with Obama because they see him as still the future of the party, his people. And, Biden is done. He's dead. So, metaphorically.
I know. You have to offer that caveat because of his health situation. I get it. Hey, on the press, have you noticed how hostile they've suddenly become towards the White House? It's just at a drop of a hat. Now they're going after Karine Jean-Pierre. She is not in any way equipped to handle this. She, in the past, if she would get a question she didn't like from, say, a conservative reporter in that room, on the rare occasion that they got a chance to say anything, she would attack them. She would moralize about how awful they are. She would treat them like garbage. And then the rest of the press in the room would nod their heads solemnly and go along with whatever she said about those people. But now that it's members of the mainstream corporate left-wing press who are giving her grief for her lies, which, by the way, she keeps telling with each passing day, she looks like totally like a deer caught in the headlights. She has no idea how to handle this at all, and she's upset. She feels personally attacked. I thought you were my friend.
Yes. Oh, it really is just amazing. I mean, the press has decided that Biden has to go. Everyone around Biden has to be thrown to the bus because their only defense is we were lied to. I mean, that's their solution to the problem of covering up for Biden. We were just telling you what we were told. All our sources said this, and we were lied to. And Karine Jean-Pierre is in that crowd. They are going to sacrifice her. I mean, she's going to be one of the many human sacrifices to the gods of credibility.
Yes.
And, just to give you two more data points. One, NBC on their NBC Now channel that's broadcast over the internet interviewed a Parkinson's doctor, and he's just saying it's Parkinson's. All right, so they brought on someone to tell you that Joe Biden's brain is pudding.
Yes.
With expert credentials. And the other thing, let me give a plug for Heather McDonald at the City Journal.
Yeah.
She's pointing out that the New York Times is now fact-checking Joe Biden, and they're printing his verbal flubs verbatim.
And today, the George Clooney op-ed, I think it represents at least, it's got to be a lot more than this, at least the third New York Times op-ed calling for Joe Biden to step down. There have been two official New York Times editorials from their editorial board doing that very thing. Now we have the George Clooney op-ed. I'm sure many of their other columnists have been doing that as well. And David, you remember the Obama era. The New York Times really kind of walks in lockstep with Obama world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he is their Black Jesus. And you can see why. I mean, he's the perfect representation of that class. He looks good. He sounds good. He's got that very Ivy League way of
demeanor,
presenting himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if he were not a politician, you would probably love him too. I mean, he's just very appealing until you realize that he's a communist. But he could have been one of my colleagues, when I was a college professor, only much better than most of them because he just is so smooth. I mean, the New York Times has flipped. They even debunked the bleach hoax. Remember the Trump wants you to inject bleach?
Yes.
Hoax. Well, which they pushed back in 2020. They were on that train, but they actually fact-checked Joe Biden and said, well, this isn't true at all. Trump didn't say that. Here's what he was really talking about. It's like they're defending Donald Trump.
All in an effort to get rid of Joe. It is amazing. Yeah. It's amazing the resources that the left can marshal on a moment's notice to achieve its goals. And what's even funnier is that Hunter Biden is holding them all off for now. It really is amazing. It's just amazing. Hey, David Strom, thank you very much. Good to talk to you as always.